It was a pretty incredible trading week with some awesome trades from the daily market breakdown videos for the members, and let's get right into this week's Forex Forecast. Alright, starting the weekly Forex Forecast off with the DXY here, looking at the daily chart. Remember, we do have a pretty nice daily uptrend. We did, in fact, break the downtrend on the euro, which is the opposite here of the DXY. But you can look, we've pretty much almost reacted off this trend line 3 times now, so it is holding in a way, but I'm not a fan of this. I would prefer to see, something like this where we hit the trend line, start to rally back up, not coming back to test it multiple times. So it's kind of a mix, like it's difficult to tell here. It's looking strong because yes, we are holding at this daily trend line. However, I don't like to see multiple touches like that, and it's a little bit tricky, especially when we get to the lower time frames. When we look at the 4-hour chart, we just have a lot of sideways action here. There's not a lot to go off of. We did have fresh supply up here. We just didn't make it to that supply. We now have new supply here at 104.76. So we could see a small move off of this supply zone, and if we actually end up breaking it, that could definitely be evidence to suggest we could be going lower. We pretty much have to go with these 4-hour zones. If we push up, break the zone, that's signaling strength. If we continue to push down, maybe break this demand down here, then at that point we'll be breaking that upward trend line on the daily chart, and things will be looking somewhat weak again here on the dollar. And over on the 1-hour chart, we had a 1-hour supply that we reacted off of perfectly at 104.88, so that is definitely signaling some downward pressure, and at that point I would actually call this a 1-hour downtrend. So that is definitely evidence to suggest we could be going lower. As far as my prediction of where this is headed, I will be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I like to give out both sides for longs and for shorts, but going back to the daily chart here, it is difficult to tell, right? With this trend holding, we have to pretty much go with the fact that the dollar is going to be going up. However, like I said, since it's very tested and we're kind of just hovering around this trend line and we haven't really taken off yet, it is suggesting to me that we could actually break it. And like I said, on the euro, the opposite of this, we had the downtrend like that, and we actually broke above it, as you're going to see here in the next pair on the euro. So it is difficult to tell at this point. If we break this 1-hour downtrend like that, that will signify strength. But as long as we have this 1-hour downtrend, we could definitely suggest that we could be going lower. So if you want to really, somewhat predict what is going to happen here, I would definitely be focused on the 1-hour chart and seeing if this 1-hour downward trend can hold. If not, if we break it, that could be signaling that the daily trend is going to continue up. And on to the forecast for the euro US dollar. And really quick, just want to say thank you guys so much for continuing to watch and like the videos, as we just did another donation to my local hospice charity. And thanks to you guys, thanks to the likes, it's all on you guys, because you guys know the ad revenue generated from these weekly Forex Forecast videos is donated to that local hospice. So let's keep up with the likes, the shares, and continuing to watch these videos so we can get more ad revenue donated to my local hospice. Again, guys, thank you so much. It means so much to me. And as far as the daily chart here goes, on the euro, we have a daily demand zone in control right now that is currently holding. We didn't get that nice takeoff up to supply, but it is holding here very clearly, and it's actually more evident on the lower time frames. If you can see here, we had a beautiful H4 demand zone down at 1.07, and we actually got a beautiful trade from the daily market breakdown video on that trade on that 4-hour demand zone. So I'm sure some of the members got involved in that trade as well, and we made it all the way back up to supply. So just a picture perfect trade in my opinion as we come off of that demand zone. So as far as the euro goes now, it's pretty clear. We have a range on this 4-hour time frame right now. It's not super clear what's taking place, but it's as simple as this. If we break this 4-hour supply, since it's proven supply, we've reacted off of it 3 times now. Since it's proven supply, if we blast through this supply zone, leaving us with a 4-hour demand zone there, we could definitely look for longs off that demand, just like we did down here. Now, if we start to pull back down, retest this demand zone, I actually think it's most likely going to break. And if we break this demand zone here, any 4-hour supply zone there, we can maybe look for shorts to signify some weakness and continue to trade down on the euro. So gonna all revolve around this range. It's really as simple as, will we break the range to the upside or to the downside, right? What do you guys think? I personally think it is going to continue to go up, and the reason is because we have this beautiful 1-hour trend line here on the euro. If you want to get aggressive with entries, I'm not a massive fan of this 1-hour zone at 1.08, but we could definitely see a move off of this 1-hour demand zone down there. Why I'm not a fan of it is because it's below the trend line. I'm not going to get into too much detail about that, but I prefer if the zone was with the trend line, not below. But it is a good little rally base, rally demand zone that we got a nice move away from. So we definitely could see a move off of that 1 hour demand zone. And as long as this 1 hour trend line is holding like this, you could be day trading a 5-minute time frame. I wouldn't really go any lower or higher than that at this point unless we get the pullback to the 1 hour demand zone. But like I said, as long as this trend line is in play, 5-minute time frame, day trading longs outside of your higher time frames is going to be completely fine. And like I said, on the 4 hour chart, if that 1 hour trend continues and we break supply here, any 4 hour demand zone there would be a pretty nice trade, as we'll have a continuation of the 4 hour trend as well. So looking pretty good here on the euro as that daily demand is in control, the demand zone that broke the trend line there on the euro US dollar. Alrighty, on to the forecast for gold, XAUUSD. So remember, we had this beautiful daily trend line up. It was getting aggressive here for sure, and I think that's why we ended up breaking the upward trend line, which left us with daily supply at 2407. So obviously it is possible we get some strength in gold to push up to supply, maybe react off of that. But based on this last day candle here, very, very red candle, and it is definitely signifying weakness here in gold. And what I think we could be seeing is a pullback all the way down to weekly demand at 2219 here. So that could definitely be what we are seeing here in gold. It's not 100% yet. Nothing is 100%, guys, but I just want to show you the higher time frames. We have a beautiful rally-based rally that was responsible for pushing up to all-time highs on gold. And you know, maybe there's some leftover buy orders down there and the banks need to fill in price down there. That is where I have my eye on. For gold, down to that weekly area of demand. And even on the 4 hour chart now, we have a pretty decent looking 4 hour downtrend, which means we could be day trading short on a 15-minute time frame. As long as this downward trend line is holding, that could definitely be a play that you decide to do on gold. Even on the 1 hour chart, guys, we had a beautiful 1 hour upward trend like this, and it broke, leaving us with a supply zone. And look at that pullback to supply. Beautiful trade, 5-to-1 hit, and this is another trade from the daily market breakdown video that myself and the members caught off of this 1 hour supply zone. If you guys do want to catch trades like this and you want access to my daily market breakdown videos, check out the Diamond membership. Links are in the description down below. We have these daily forecasts that I do for the members, video lessons, Sunday Zoom sessions for strategy, Sunday private forecast as well. So and like I said, much more, private Discord group. So check it out. Links in the description if you guys want to catch trades like this and learn more about supply and demand. We'd be happy to see all traders join the team. So just picture perfect trade off of that supply zone there, and that has actually left us with a 1 hour downtrend as well. So that trade is currently playing out. So the only thing I'm seeing at this point is either a retracement all the way back up to the 4 hour supply 2404, maybe a move off of that. I doubt we are going to get that pullback. And like I said, as long as this downward trend line is being respected on the 4 hour chart, we could be looking for 15-minute time frame shorts and even 5-minute time frame shorts as well. So pretty much day trading only here on gold. To the short side, I am not really seeing anything for longs at this point until we can start to reach these higher time frame demand zones on the weekly and the daily time frame. All right, now we're going to be looking at the USDJPY. We're going to do a top-down approach here. There's not a whole lot to talk about. However, we do have a beautiful weekly trend up. We have weekly demand that we pointed out a few weeks ago being respected. We are pushing towards the high. Things are looking strong. Yes, we are approaching the high, so we need to be trading with caution. But like I said, we have beautiful trends to the upside. Even on the daily chart down here as well, we have beautiful trends up. However, you look at a 1 hour chart here, we did lose some momentum. You guys notice these two red circles. Well, this was a beautiful little 5-to-1 rally-based rally demand zone trade that we caught again from the daily market breakdown videos. It's been a hell of a week for myself and the members, catching nice trades off of these zones. And then we actually pushed down after 5-to-1 was easily hit, broke that demand zone, which left us with a supply zone at 157, and we got another short trade off of that supply zone right there from the daily market breakdown video as well. And as you can see, the zone was respected all the way down to almost the lows, and we are pushing back up into it again. At this point, I don't really like trading at these supply zones. for two reasons. One, it is tested already and we already got the trade off of it. You guys know me, I don't like trading at tested supply or demand zones. That's just me. You guys can, but you might want to look for extra confirmation on a 5-minute time frame. That's going to be about it. But again, I do not really recommend that whatsoever. And the second reason I don't really want to be trading at the supply zone again is, well, like I said, the trade's already worked out, but we also have a weekly and a daily trend up. So this was technically a more risky counter trend trade, unlike this demand zone trade that went to take profit almost immediately, because this was with the trend and this was counter trend. So now if we can remove this supply zone, hopefully the supply and the high, any 1 hour demand zone there, we could look for longs off of that. So that is what I would be looking for here. As far as the 1 hour chart goes, I just want to see these proven supply zones taken out, and preferably the high as well, which would definitely signal strength in the USDJPY. And I think why we are seeing a little bit of downward pressure is this 4 hour supply zone. If you go back and watch some of my forecast, guys, we've been talking about this 4 hour supply zone. No, we're not getting a massive move down off the supply zone. Pretty unlikely to get that, since again, the weekly and the daily trend is up. Even the 4 hour trend is up as well. So this is why we are seeing some downward pressure here in the USD yen. So another thing you could do is, as long as this trend line is holding, you could be looking for 15-minute time frame longs outside of your higher time frame. So 50-minute longs are fine as long as this trend line is respected. As soon as we break that trend line like that, then we need to hold off on those 15-minute time frame longs. If you want to play it safe, the best thing we could see is this 4 hour supply removed, and any 4 hour demand zone there we could use for potential longs to continue to trade with that weekly and the daily trend here on the USDJPY. All right, on to the GBPUSD, and in the comments down below, let me know your thoughts on the GBPUSD, the British pound. Do you think we'll be pulling back to this demand zone? Do you think we'll be breaking the supply? What else do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. I respond to every single comment. All I know is that we have a daily demand zone down here. That's good, and it is fresh. It is a nice rally-based rally that broke a supply zone. This supply zone is still being respected. However, we almost removed it. We are getting very, very close. So what would really signal strength is that supply zone being removed. And even if we do get a pullback down to this demand zone, I think it's a decent little dip buying opportunity here on the GBPUSD. Now, if we go over to the 4 hour chart, it's a little bit more clear what's going on. We did have a nice trend line up. We broke the trend line, gave us a nice 4 hour supply zone, reacted off the supply a little bit. Couldn't get quite all the way down to demand zone, but that's fine. We have at least a proven supply zone now, and we are pushing back in for that second test. So if this supply zone gets removed, that would signal strength, and that could be our kind of our sign to maybe get in long at this point. This demand zone down here at 1.267 is still fresh. We almost hit it here, and I actually like that. So I still think this is a decent area to potentially look for longs. So this is one option on the GBPUSD. The second option would be to wait for this 4 hour supply to be removed, and preferably the high as well. And then any 4 hour demand zone there could be used for longs. So we have this option, option 1, and option 2 would be the pullback down to this demand zone. And maybe this supply gets respected and we don't even break it and we push down to this demand zone right now. That's fine. I think it's a decent little dip buying opportunity. And since this supply is proven, like I said, it being removed would definitely say, hey, you know, we have a key supply zone removed. It's definitely signaling strength. Maybe we should get in long. So it's really going to all revolve around this supply zone being removed or this demand zone being hit here on the GBPUSD. Let me know your comments down below. All right, on to the USDCAD. This is the country I am from, in case none of you guys knew. So I am from Canada, and it's a pretty decent country. So anyways, looking at the USDCAD here on the daily chart, not a lot to go off of here on the daily chart. However, we do have a daily demand zone down below. It's not good for buying, in my opinion, and the reason is because it's been tested once, twice, 3 times now, so it's not great, but I am going to be using it for potential take profits if price does continue to go down. You can see we've had 2 pretty big, you know, red days here on the USDCAD. You can clearly see what has taken place. We got a beautiful move off of this rally base drop supply zone here, and this is another zone that we point out in the daily market breakdown videos. Just a beautiful trade off of that, looking to target the lows here, and even this demand zone down below at 1.357. So this short trade is already played out, so there's nothing to point out on the short side. However, there is a nice little demand zone down here. I've been pointing this one out for a while now, a couple weeks, actually way longer than that, and it's kind of a trap setup as well. So if you are short from here, or if you're getting in short, I don't really recommend getting in short at this point. The trade's kind of already worked out, guys. So if you are getting short, or you are in short, this is where the ultimate take profit would be. I don't want to say the ultimate, but like the best take profit would be, because I do personally think we will be reacting off of this demand zone. Do I think we are going to push all the way back up to supply? Probably not. It's all going to depend on the DXY as well. So if we start to see some weakness in the dollar and the daily demand and the daily trend breaks, then I think we maybe will just see a small move off of it, push back up to the support area, and then react. So this could be still a decent little aggressive but decent little buying opportunity at this little trap 4-hour demand zone. I personally have my eye on this one as well. It might be one where I risk less on, just because it's a 4-hour demand zone. It's good. The issue with this is there's no weekly demand zone in control down here, so it's not as high quality. But what I like about it is the fact that it's a potential, trap setup here with a clear support resistance area. So we could definitely see maybe a small 1-to-1, 2-to-1 move off of that 4-hour area of demand on the USDCAD. All right, onto the forecast for the AUDUSD. You can clearly see we have a supply zone in control here, and we have a daily demand zone down below at 0.65. This daily chart's actually looking semi-similar to the GBPUSD. I don't love the supply zone anymore. I'm not like, oh my god, we're definitely going to react off the supply. It's just been tested once before. Tested it 3/4 of the way in, like 75% of the way in. It's not looking too weak, in my opinion, where I think, hey, we're really going to pull back. However, there is a daily zone down here, and supply and demand zones kind of act as a magnet, so it's definitely possible we do retrace down to that daily demand zone, but that's more, swing trading, position trading. As far as you guys go, we're probably looking at the 4-hour chart or lower. You can clearly see we have a beautiful 4-hour downward trend line here, and we had the initial peak. We had the lower low here. We pushed back up, reacted off the trend line again, and we are respecting it. So it's definitely there. It's definitely being respected. And as long as this is being respected, you could be on a 15-minute time frame looking for shorts on, again, like the 15-minute time frame. If you think we are going to break it, we still have that supply above at 0.66. It's a little bit aggressive because it is above the trend line, but it is decent. We definitely could see a move off of that supply zone, especially if the banks in the higher players have the idea of pushing price down to that daily demand zone to fill in more buy orders. So again, as long as this downward trend line is holding, yeah, you could be looking for the 15-minute time frame shorts. I think that is completely fine. If we break the downward trend line here, leaving us with the demand zone, I will have that on the chart for the members as well. We can maybe look for longs off of that. Preferably we get something like this, where we not only remove the downward trend line, we remove supply, remove a high, and any zones here we could be looking for longs, and that is if you are bullish on the Aussie. But in the meantime, guys, it's looking pretty weak as far as the 4-hour time frame goes and the 1-hour time frame goes. So it's pretty much all going to revolve around that 4-hour downward trend line and the 4-hour supply above. Like I said, if we really start to push up and start to remove those supply zones, then that could definitely be signaling that we are going to be breaking the daily supply there on the Aussie US dollar. So definitely just pay attention to the 4-hour downward trend line and the 4-hour supply, and you should be pretty good here on the Aussie. And if you're a day trader, you're in luck. We have a trend line being respected, and we could definitely be looking for shorts on the 15-minute time frame, like I said. All right, on to the USDCHF. You can clearly see we had daily supply above at 0.91, and we have the daily demand. And now we are ping-ponging between this daily demand and daily supply. You can go back to last week's forecast and talk about, I talked about this supply zone, and I'm pretty sure I said we could definitely react to the downside off this demand. So who knows? We could just be ping-ponging between here for a little bit. It is definitely confusing at this point. If you look at a 4-hour chart here, you can see we had this supply zone as well that I pointed out in last week's forecast as well. I believe I have to go back and check, but you guys can check that as well. All the forecasts are on YouTube for you guys to go back and watch. And we have this demand zone down here at 0.902. It's 4-hour demand zone. Beautiful move off of it so far. Nothing crazy. I'm not like, oh my god, look at the strength we are seeing here. However, we did clearly wick into it. It is a nice rally demand zone that we got a beautiful move away from. The origin of the move that removed the downward trend line. So it's strong, and it's inside of that daily demand zone. However, the daily demand zone that is inside is tested, so it's not as quality, but we could definitely see the move from demand maybe back up to supply, and then maybe react off of that supply. So really, you could be playing both of these zones If you are bullish, this would be our 4-hour demand zone for longs. If you are bearish, this would be our supply zone for shorts on the USDCHF. Now, if you want to get a little bit more conservative here, let's say you want to get in long, you think, hey, I think this daily demand zone is going to react off of it again. We're going to be pushing back up to the supply like Kevin said. Well, what you could be doing for confirmation is simply just waiting for this downward trend line to be removed. So if we remove this downward trend line, leaving us with a 1-hour demand zone, this would be our 1-hour confirmation there as we come off of that daily and 4-hour demand zone. So really just want to see that removed for the safest potential long entry. And I always like to talk about you day traders. Since we have a 1-hour downward trend line being respected, you guessed it, 5-minute time frame shorts are fine as long as that 1-hour trend line is being respected. So if we push up, push down off of it, 5-minute shorts are fine. Like I said, as long as that downward trend line is being respected here on the USD Swiss. But overall, it's not super clear. It's more just going sideways. That's why I'm pointing out both supply and demand zones, because honestly, in a sideways market, these zones either are going to both work or not work at all for both of them. But so far we have seen supply zones being respected, even some demand zones being respected here along the way. So a couple good zones there to point out. All right, last but not least, we're on to crude oil on the daily chart. So I don't want to rule out this daily demand zone just yet. It's a nice rally-based rally demand zone here. And I think, we could definitely see price pull back to it. I think if you continue to see downward pressure, this is where we are headed. And I think it could be maybe the bottom in oil. I wouldn't just predict it, but that is where my target is set at for potential short trades. Now, if you want to trade it, we have a couple options here. We are into this 4-hour demand zone. We could see the move from demand back up to this supply at 79.17. So honestly, you could be playing both of these zones. Since I do think we will be pushing back down to that $74 daily demand zone, I much prefer the supply zone, especially since it's a potential little resistance trap up there. I like the supply zone for shorts. And again, if you don't feel comfortable just with a short with a stop loss above, you could also look for day trading confirmation shorts in there on a 15-minute or a 5-minute time frame. I think both of those would be appropriate. And if you want to get aggressive and kind of trade against the momentum, this is a good 4-hour zone as far as it, again, there's no daily demand zone here where it's like, oh, it's a 4-hour demand zone inside of a higher time frame zone. That does not exist here. So it is more aggressive to look for longs off of here. But if you think we are going to push back up to this supply, this would be our zone we could look for long. So since we are in it, you could be looking for 50-minute and even 5-minute time frame confirmation as we come off of this 4-hour demand and potentially push back up to supply, where I think we could get a reaction off of that supply zone like that. And like I said, guys, a zone like this on this 4-hour time frame, it's decent. There's tons of profit margin down to 74. If we tighten up the stop just a little bit there, down to 74, it's over a 7-to-1. So to be conservative, it's a 5-to-1 trade, which is what we always like to look for here on my channel and in the group. So again, not a lot of trend to go off of on the 4-hour chart, but since we have a clear demand zone here and downward momentum on the daily chart, I am thinking we could get a reaction off of supply and push down to that daily zone, where then we can maybe look for longs down there. But again, the aggressive entry longs would be at this 4-hour demand zone. But if you do get in long down here and it is respected and we start to push up, I would definitely look to lock in profits around that 79 to 17 4-hour area of supply on crude oil. If you guys want to watch the full-length forecast with all the other markets, make sure to subscribe to the channel membership to get access.